nunca ha tenido de tener la pelota.
Cambios, Jesús, cambios.
Exactamente, sale Dever Oriel con el número 6, van a ingresar Donald Mattox con el 10 y también Shamara Nicholson con el número 11. Esos son los ingresos. Entonces Oriel se va para el ingreso de Mattox. Ahora te digo quién sale para el ingreso de Nicholson.
El número 18.
Exactamente, Brian Brown.
Sí, señor. Nicholson, ¿con qué número ingresa, Jesús?
Nicholson ingresa con el 11.
Perfecto, muy bien.
Y Mattox con el 10 también, porque Javier vinieron a sentar a un aficionado jamaicano que no se sentaba, estaba de pie apoyando a su selección, empezaron a recriminar a los seguidores de El Salvador y no se quiso sentar hasta que llegó la autoridad a sentarlo a fuerza.
Jaime Alas también va al terreno por parte del conjunto salvadoreño, Jesús.
Exactamente, el ingreso de Jaime Alas, la salida de Carlos Portillo.
Alas que fue titular en el partido anterior en la presentación ante la selección de Curazao. Vamos a ver si esto cambia el guión del partido y encontramos más emociones. Seguramente que ambos equipos lo van a intentar. Michael Héctor no puede llegar a la pelota, luego ya la intervención permite enderezar la jugada, pero se vuelve a torcer con este servicio demasiado impreciso para Leon Bailey. Anda mal y le ayudan.
Sí. No, se tiran las pelotas atrás cuando no hay ningún tipo de presión. Este cambio de El Salvador, la salida de Carlos Portillo y la entrada de Jaime Alas fue justamente el movimiento a la inversa que hizo Carlos de los Cobos para este partido. El único movimiento, ¿no?, en relación a la alineación que le ganó Curazao.
Oye, Javier Alas está cumpliendo 9 partidos de Copa Oro y ya le marcó gol a Jamaica en un amistoso.
Muy bien. De nueva cuenta la salida desde el lateral, yendo al frente con el servicio que no tiene destino fijo. Entonces el despegue defensivo es muy sencillo. Y ahora el tránsito de medio terreno con Michael Héctor para la apertura. Vamos a ver este hombre que acaba de ingresar al terreno, qué es lo que hace, cómo contribuye con su equipo. Michelson, de nueva cuenta, la devolución es demasiado larga, la sigue peleando, sin embargo, una gran superioridad numérica del conjunto salvadoreño. Y entonces otra vez la gran batalla, el tete-a-tete se traslada, se muda al medio terreno en donde se produce una nueva falta.
Y de un jugador que ya está amonestado, que es Junior Fleming.
Sí, es lo que estaba diciendo Darwin Serena, el árbitro, exactamente eso. Pero únicamente está señalando la falta. Ahí tiene pegado al jugador de Jamaica, haciéndole ver Junior Fleming que ya estaba
de amarilla, ¿no?
Sí. Debería de ser. Sí, Oscar Serén pues también dice lo mismo, que el al cual que le dolió.
Pues fue un empujón en el cuello.
Sí.
Oye, por cierto, no sabes la cantidad de personas, Francisco, que se han comunicado. Dijimos que nos escribieran a hashtag Tu Copa Oro. Todos concuerdan. Algunos dicen que va a ganar Jamaica, otros dicen que va a ganar El Salvador. La gran mayoría, evidentemente, dice que va a ganar El Salvador. Pero todos concuerdan en que sí va a haber un gol antes de terminar este partido.
Estoy con ellos, con todos ellos.
Yo también.
Vamos a ver el servicio largo al frente, el toque de primera intención, muy difícil para la llegada salvadoreña de Oscar Serena, así que la pelota va afuera. Jamaica se desespera, el equipo salvadoreño también, nosotros no tanto.
Se acerca la noche más hot del verano, Premios Juventud con el mejor del pop culture y nuestra música. No te lo pierdas, jueves 18 de julio a las 7:06 centros, solo por Univision Premios Juventud.
Perfecto, ahí nos esperamos. Kevin Lawrence, jugador del New York Red Bulls, defendiendo el servicio que termina otra vez en piernas salvadoreñas. Vamos a ver ahora a Darwin Serén, que baja la pelota, da la vuelta completa, apoya correctamente. Narciso Orellana, en medio de contención estelar de la selección salvadoreña, de nueva cuenta entregando de retroceso para buscar otro perfil. Ahora Mayen, que ha reforzado la media cancha, pese a que es un jugador con velocidad, pues también se ha quedado ahí para primero marcar y luego tratar de orquestar hacia el frente. Ahora sí está marcando el espacio para que le manden el balón largo, pero no lo ven. La jugada va por otro lado, toma otro flujo. Jonathan Jiménez entregando para Alas, recibe ingresado al terreno, entrega mala pelota a Alas. Atención, aunque está bien colocado la selección salvadoreña, siempre es de riesgo perder una pelota en esta zona del campo. Michael Héctor, otra vez con la apertura para Michelson. Michelson, ven contra cuántos se enfrenta. Michelson intenta individual, se le alarga el esférico, no hay ninguna falta, la pelota llega hasta Henry Hernández. El Salvador la tiene para salir jugando.
este recién ingresado Nicholson, que recibió la pelota, encaró, se le largó demasiado, pero bueno, por lo menos de estas alturas se agradecen ese tipo de intenciones, Francisco Javier.
Sí, señor, sí. Correcto, Darwin Serén muy activo en el medio terreno, metiendo el servicio otra vez equivocado. Sin embargo, Kemar Lawrence pues busca a quien entregar la pelota para no perderla tan rápido. Otra vez Michael Hector levantando la mirada con categoría, le entrega atrás. Sin embargo, para nuevas salidas de Sean Francis. Vamos a ver a Powell, el velocísimo lateral de la selección de Jamaica. Se le apellido lleva la velocidad, no se acuerdan de Asafa Powell. Uy, y después casi se le escapaba la pelota a Darwin Serén, tienen que corregir a sus compañeros. Vamos a ver a Alas, que trata de imprimir mayor velocidad. Jonathan Jiménez ya le marca la jugada, 3 de sus compañeros al frente, copado totalmente Nelson Bonilla. Yo no sé cuántos balones ha tocado Nelson Bonilla, pero me atrevería a decir que 3 o 4 en todo el partido, el centro delantero de la selección de El Salvador.
Muy pocos, que es el jugador que más gol tiene de esta selección y con mucho. Este jugador que juega en el Bangkok United.
Correcto. Sean Francis a un costado, Kemar Lawrence que se va al frente para ver si le devuelve la pelota Michelson. El rebote defensivo que va hacia afuera, únicamente lo deja salir del campo el conjunto jamaiquino o jamaicano, de las dos maneras bien dicho. Y ahora viene, sí, el momento de refresco. Fernando Jesús Torres, aprovechalo.
Exactamente, la hidratación. Hablaban de Nelson Bonilla, es el máximo goleador de El Salvador en Copa Oro, hablando de los jugadores en activo con 3 anotaciones. Le ha marcado precisamente a Curazao, a Jamaica y a la selección mexicana.
Correctísimo.
Y le ha dado casi la vuelta al mundo, ¿no? Dentro de su carrera. Salió de la Alianza, fue a jugar a Rumania, Azerbaiyán, Portugal, Turquía y ahora está en Tailandia.
Oye, ahora que hablábamos de una cuenta de la selección mexicana y de ese partido que le ganó la de Jamaica, ¿quiénes estaban en ese equipo mexicano, en ese 1-0? Pues estaba Chuy Corona, Edson Álvarez, Hugo Ayala, Jair Pereira, el Guti Gutiérrez, Elías Hernández, el Cubo, en el ratito que estuvo la selección mexicana, Pizarro, Orbelín, que está en ella todavía.
Recordemos que esa selección se empalmó con la de la Copa Confederaciones.
Sí, señor.
Ahora digamos que la selección principal estaba jugando en Rusia.
Sí, sin duda. Ahora sí está en los grados que había dicho Pedro en 89.
Ahora sí ya bajó un grado. Bueno, sí está bien, en una hora, ¿qué dicen?
Eres un profeta, Jesús.
Ya no le ayudan a Félix, que me anda reventando a mí, a Javier diciendo que no era buen lateral, en fin, que...
Conmigo tienes razón, ¿eh? ¿Para qué te digo?
¿No tú solito te candidateaste?
¿Le hablas a Jesús o a mí?
No, aquí.
A mí sí también, tienes razón.
Oye, esto me encanta ver, la verdad, las aficiones de los dos equipos, sobre todo la del Salvador, hay que decirlo, este estadio en este momento está en unos 70% de aficionados del Salvador, el resto quizá de Honduras y otros pocos de Jamaica, muy pocos de Jamaica. Pero me encanta el color de la gente, como los salvadoreños, siempre con la buena vibra, porque íbamos caminando por los pasillos y te tiran buena vibra, te saludan como muy buena gente, la verdad que muy bien y hay que aplaudir.
Y te digo otra cosa, Andrés, estaban lanzando cohetes allá afuera y quemando bombas de humo. Llegó la policía, les dijo por favor no lo hagan, y de inmediato el jefe de la porra o los que estén ahí habló con todos y dijeron dejemos de hacer esto y lo dejaron de hacer obedeciendo de inmediato.
Venga, vámonos a la recta final del partido. Power entregando la pelota atrás. Dice Marc Rosas que tu narración se escuchó en todo el estadio. ¡Qué pulmones tienes, Andrés Vaca! Vamos a ver este cabezazo de Michelson. Y luego el rebote. Y otra vez el 11 de la selección de Jamaica, que no puede atinar. Sin embargo, también parece despertar de su modorra después de tomar agüita la selección de Jamaica.
Pues a ver, la gente del estadio es gente sabia. Entonces ponen la transmisión de Univisión Deportes en los pasillos. Cuando la gente va al baño, va a la fila a comprarse un hot dog, se escucha la narración de nosotros para que la gente esté al tanto de lo que pasa.
Pues un saludo con mucho cariño para todos ellos que han venido a este precioso estadio. Cuando el balón vuelve a ser rebotado, vamos a ver cómo la baja de esta manera Lowe para la apertura al esperadísimo Leon Bailey, que ya hace una de las suyas, encierra la pelota, se va a escapar, y luego le da un empujón o da el taconazo o pisa mal o ¿Qué le pasó? ¿Qué le pasó?
No, lo que le pasó fue que se topó con Jonathan Jiménez, que hizo una jugada extraordinaria.
Mírala.
Pero ve cómo Jonathan Jiménez recupera terreno después de esa jugada y se la saca con toda limpieza y de taconcito.
¿Cuándo viste un defensa sacar la pelota de taquito en esa zona?
Esa jugada todavía no tiene nombre.
Y la hizo el
Ni
propio.
en nuestra época, ni en la de Jesús Torres, y mucho menos en la de Vaca.
Pero la hizo el propio Jonathan Jiménez, el hombre del
El mismo de
carrusel,
la ruleta.
Aquí viene el tiro izquierdo de Leon Bailey a primer palo, fácilmente pegado por la defensiva. Todo el mundo espera otra vez el recinto. ¡Ah, qué buena tajada de Henry Hernández para mandar la pelota a tiro de esquina! No era tanto lo difícil, sino lo sorpresivo del disparo de larga distancia. Bien dirigido, Fernando Jesús Torres.
Se animó Sean France y sacó el zurdazo y lo fue viendo Hernández, midiendo la pelota y metiendo la mano de buena manera.
Ese no es candidato a los Félix de ninguna manera. Leon Bailey, otra vez cobrando ahora sí el segundo palo, el tiro de esquina, la pelota que sigue de largo, únicamente la va a dejar salir la selección salvadoreña. Era su intención, pero la termina perdiendo. La puede estar arriba, viene el servicio, de quien es el rebote. Viene Michael Lector para tomar la pelota haciendo recorte. Luego se estaba con su compañero. Michael Lector vuelve a intervenir. Héctor metiendo el servicio, manchón penal. Ya viene la intervención de Iván Mancia para sacarla del terreno de juego. Saque lateral para la selección de Jamaica, que parece que se anima en esta recta final.
Y se anima bien, ya lo mencionabas, ¿no? El zurdazo de Francis que acaba sacando Hernández de buena manera. Pero sí, tuvieron que pasar 75 minutos para que viéramos el primer disparo a puerta de peligro.
Correcto, pero seguimos con la gente que hace el favor de comunicarse con nosotros y que dice...
Al 1-800 State Farm.
That she doesn't own the rights to the music, number one. Number two, she says Scooter Braun has bullied her over the years.
She claims Scooter was behind the now infamous secret recording of a phone call between her and Kanye West, and she reposted this Justin Bieber Instagram, which included Kanye and Braun laughing, saying,
"This is Scooter Braun bullying me on social media when I was at my lowest point."
So basically, she says that all her old music is now in the hands of her enemy.
First off, you can't have an enemy named Scooter. Furthermore, Big Machine says Taylor had an opportunity to buy her catalog and refused. Also, Bieber himself came to Braun's defense saying it was Justin's idea to troll Swift on Instagram, and Scooter has always had Taylor's back. As far as that call with Kanye,
Scooter wasn't working with Kanye at the time. We know that.
but Taylor isn't the only one with bad things to say about Braun.
By the way, Patrick Hall came out last night and said that he called Scooter Braun evil.
Okay, and then the response to that was Big Machine said what? We fired you off your own tour because you stole from our fans.
Ooh.
Idiot.
But you kind of.
Well,
As for you two, something tells us you are never, ever getting back together.
Russell Brand leaving the Ivy.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't seen him in a long time. We talked to him about Katy Perry getting remarried. That's his ex-wife.
I totally forgot that.
Yeah, they got married, man. So he is at ballet trying to get the car out, and we say,
Russell, would you take an invite if Katy Perry invited you to your wedding?
I think it's best I focus on the driving. I'm very happy for everyone who finds peace and happiness.
Oh, you love that. You're happy for her. Well, you're happy for her.
The first day I got to America, I saw Russell Brand, and I was like, this is going to work out for me. I saw Russell Brand, and I'm like, damn, this is like my guy, and I'm seeing him on my first day here. As a sign from God, things are going to work out for me. I was wrong.
Thank you, Russell. You guys have any marriage advice for Joe Jonas?
Oh, man. He'll figure it out.
That's Superman Dan and Shay, who are such good friends of Sophie Turner and Joe Joe Jonas that they performed at their Vegas wedding. They must be stoked for Joe and Sophie's big French wedding that everyone's talking about, right?
You guys haven't gotten an invite yet? Nah, man, not yet. Must have got lost in there.
This is kind of awkward because it sort of already happened. But don't worry, it was a super small scale wedding. At the biggest friggin' chateau we've ever seen! And all the Joe and I were there! Nick and Priyanka, Kevin and Danielle, all supporting brother Joe, who was so excited he sprouted an extra arm for the occasion.
He's got 3 hands. Where is he? Get married in Chernobyl?
Stop! It's just an optical illusion. There's someone behind him.
This is my favorite because when you're a server and you have to walk through with a tray, you hope to not run into the bride, and that happened to that guy.
Look, it's like 150 degrees over there, and he has a man bun. Cut him a break.
Dr. Phil was there, right? Who else?
Ashley Graham, Maisie Williams, Diplo, but the real star of the show?
Their dog was in the wedding.
Yes, their pup, Corgi Basquiat, was there, dressed in his own tuxedo.
What kind of dog?
It's a Pomsky. It's a Husky and a Pomeranian.
A husky and a Pomeranian mated?
How did that happen?
What if the Pomeranian was the man?
I was just...
Thanks for the visual, pal. So, congrats on the wedding, Joe and Sophie. Or as they say in France, congrats on the wedding, Joe and Sophie, but more snobby.
You're the best. Joe and Sophie are awesome, man.
So Chris Pratt, he's on his honeymoon and he got fried. He posted a picture and he's burnt to a crisp.
Oh, my... Where was he?
He was in Hawaii.
Annuities. Call now for this free book on maximizing your income in retirement. Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers from leading financial firm J.D. Milberg. That's right, free. This book reveals little-known truths about annuities in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we're about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known truths we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. And it's free.
Call 800-885-6464.
As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We researched numerous products and summarized rates and benefits of annuities, all from Sentinel Security Life Insurance Company.
Call 800-885-6464. That's 800-885-6464. Call now.
Today, a public divide among the president's top advisors over North Korea after National Security Advisor John Bolton, sidelined during the weekend meetings of the DMZ, protested on Twitter against any concessions to Kim Jong-un. The New York Times first reported that U.S. diplomats were considering offering Kim a nuclear freeze, which would allow him to keep his current arsenal instead of completely denuclearizing, as the North Korean leader had first promised a year ago in Singapore. Joining me now is Admiral James Stavridis, a former NATO Supreme Allied Commander and MSNBC Chief International Diplomacy Analyst, and Ann Gearan, White House Correspondent for The Washington Post. Admiral, this is a public dispute that I haven't seen in many a decade between the diplomats and the National Security Advisor on what could be the most important policy issue right now, apart from Iran, perhaps. What is your takeaway?
It's just hard to imagine a scenario like this kind of in the past where you have like Steve Hadley, extremely thoughtful National Security Advisor, disputing his boss in public, or Tom Donilon disputing Barack Obama, just unthinkable. And so it's very concerning, Andrea, both inside the interagency, and I've been in those debates and confrontations in the Situation Room, but normally you resolve it in the Situation Room and then you walk out together. So inside the interagency, it's bad form. Publicly, it sends a very bad signal both to our allies and also it encourages our opponents. Kim is thinking, wow, this is terrific. President Xi is looking at this thinking, I've really pushed President Trump to a very different and strange place. So however you score the merits of should we continue to press for a full, verifiable, total, all nuclear weapons gone, or is there a middle ground? That's a debate we should have. but not in public over Twitter between the president and the national security advisor.
Well said, Admiral. I mean, when I think about this, I think about a very public dispute between Secretary of State Cy Vance and Zbigniew Brzezinski, the National Security Advisor, which resulted in Vance's resignation, actually, back in Jimmy Carter's White House. But we haven't seen anything like this. And you've covered the Pentagon, the White House, and the State Department. We've dealt with John Bolton before, and we've seen disputes between Colin Powell and the Cheney-Rumsfeld team. But it was after the fact and not on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, the Powell example is maybe the closest, and it's not really that close. He wanted a lot more time and a lot more evidence before making troop decisions about invading Iraq, about doing anything close to that. And he was less comfortable with all of that than Rumsfeld and Bolton, who was in that administration too, were at the time. And although we knew it, we knew that there was a division of opinion. It never boiled over into any kind of public confrontation between Powell and anybody, Cheney, Rumsfeld, or their entire White House.
Not any time. We're waiting for the memoirs.
Yeah, right, exactly. That sounds like ancient history, right? You had to wait until after the administration had passed from the scene to find out what the disagreements were. It was before Twitter.
Admiral Stavridis, there's been disputes even, excuse me, you take it away. There have been disputes among the trade negotiators in this administration regarding China, how tough to be. So that we knew in real time, but they weren't doing it publicly. They were trying to smooth it over in public. For John Bolton to go on Twitter, arguably could be a firing offense.
I think anything could happen at this point because we see such a range of reactions from the president, and this is really typical of the way in which he operates, which is to kind of create a crisis, say North Korea, fire and fury, Kim Jong-un is little rocket man, and now they're the best of friends. In Iraq, we see him go right to the edge of launching strikes, but then it's back to, well, it would be fine, we can talk some more. In terms of John Bolton, who I think knows where his positions are, he's smart, he's got a viewpoint. I don't always agree with everything he says, but I got to think when he's watching events unfold from a visit to Mongolia, while the president is in the middle of high-level discussions about North Korea, he's got to start seeing that self-respect light flickering a little bit, flashing yellow. So I think he has to figure out a way to close the gap with his boss or look for other opportunities to serve.
And before I let you go, as a military man, let me ask you about the tanks in the streets of Washington, D.C., and whether you think the July 4th celebration is the right place for a military parade.
That would be a big fat no, it's not. But let me raise one point about it that I haven't heard in the excellent conversation you had earlier with Jeremy Bash and Bill Kristol. They correctly point out the politicization of it and the expense of it. I'll add one other thought. It's the military people, to do this, have to give up their 4th of July. They have to be figuring out a way to get these tanks rolling and marching in formation. Believe me, they would rather be having a beer and be at a barbecue on the 4th of July like the rest of the country. So there's a kind of an internal personal dynamic here that, along with those other reasons, makes this not a very good idea.
James Stavridis, that's a great point to make. Thank you so much, Ann Guerin. As always, thank you. And coming up, leader of the pack, who's up, who's down in the Democratic pack following last week's debates, Steve Kornacki has the numbers. Stay with us on Andrea Mitchell Reports, only on MSNBC.
Think all premium fuels are the same? New Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline is engineered with 4 levels of defense against gunk, wear, corrosion, and friction. That helps keep your engine running like new. So maybe it's time to unthink what you think about premium fuel. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. It's fuel for thought.
And if
you ever seen the emerald waters of Barbados? Or seen a butler walk on water to please you? Have you ever stayed in the world's most romantic suites? Or dined at 11 world-class restaurants in one resort? Have you ever imagined such five-star luxury is all-inclusive? Sandals Barbados, where exclusive is always inclusive. Call 1-800-SANDALS today.
I got a secret. If you're wondering how I stay so active and energetic these days, and I know you are, it's my Safe Step walk-in tub. Oh yeah! I know what you're thinking. Terry, I'm not ready for a walk-in tub yet. Well, did you know that Safe Step now offers a hybrid tub? Now you can choose to take a relaxing, therapeutic bath or a stand-up shower.
Terry Bradshaw's secret is revealed. Now it's your turn to get the comfort and convenience of Safe Steps in the hybrid tub and shower in one. As part of Terry's special TV offer, call now and get a free shower package. That's an $800 value, free.
And get this, it's back with a lifetime warranty. Yahoo!
Call 1-800-277-0792 and get your free shower package. Terry's special TV offer is for a limited time, so please call now.
Treat yourself. Trust me, your body will thank you.
Hi. Thank you. I feel like I've been on a diet my entire life. I even cut out bread and pasta for a day. And then I tried Noom.
I feel like anyone could use Noom.
It's an easy to stick to program that actually changed my habits. It changed the way I look at food.
They say it's based on a cognitive behavioral approach. I just say it works.
It just clicked. It worked. It worked with Noom. Visit Noom.com and lose the weight for good.
If you have moderate to severe psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats differently. For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. For psoriatic arthritis, Otezla is proven to reduce joint swelling, tenderness, and pain. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ready to treat differently with a pill? Otezla. Show more of you.
Good evening, everyone. Breaking news tonight.
Lester Holt.
It sounds like a jet airplane up there, but that is fire.
Most trusted TV news anchor in America.
That's Nightly News. I'm Lester Holt.
More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
And there's a shakeup in some polls in the Democratic field since the debate. And while these are only early indicators, could be a sign of trouble for frontrunner Joe Biden as well as for Bernie Sanders, and other candidates are becoming better known. NBC's Steve Kornacki's at the big board. Steve, let's take us through the numbers.
Yeah, Andrea, well, they are starting to come in now. The polls conducted in the days after those first debates last week. Here's one from CNN, and again, this was conducted over the weekend, so it wasn't just folks who watched the debate and immediately reacted. These are folks who also processed how that debate continued in the media and in public over the weekend. And you see this poll obviously set off all sorts of alarm bells around the Biden campaign. 22% Biden. They have Harris 17% just behind him. Obviously, this would be a significant change from what we're talking about. Harris moving up in a big way, Biden falling back in a potentially big way. Question here is, as more polling comes out over the next few hours, potentially, and days, is this going to become closer to the new normal on the Democratic side? We can also show you there is a new poll out this afternoon in Iowa, the leadoff caucus state. Something similar, Biden there leading 24%. Remember, CNN had him 22% nationally. Look who's in second place all of a sudden. Kamala Harris, off that debate performance last week, going all the way up to second place within 10 points of Biden. The other thing that I think really jumps out at you, go all the way down to fourth place, single digits in Iowa.
Bernie Sanders in this poll. Think about that. A couple of years ago, Bernie Sanders basically battled Hillary Clinton to a tie in Iowa, the leadoff caucus state. Now there he is, buried in single digits in this poll. So again, see how that shakes out. I expect there might be some more polling we'll be talking about by the end of the day today, but that's what we're starting to get here is the readout after the debate. The one positive thing that Biden can point to in this new CNN poll. I just asked the basic question. All these Democratic candidates, who's got the best chance of beating Trump? Biden, of course, trying to run down that, sell that idea of electability. He's still on top there on that question. It may also be, though, look, there is not a consensus second choice on this among Democratic voters. We've seen in the past. That can change, so I'm not sure how comforting that number is to Biden. Also, just some of the breakdowns here. One of the reasons Harris is rising in that poll among liberal voters, she now leads in this CNN poll. First place, again, ahead of Sanders. Biden, he's been doing better among moderates, but this is actually a step back for him in terms of how he's been doing among moderates. So, again, Andrea, I think we'll have some more polling by the end of the day to talk about, but what we've got right now here, for Biden, can't be too happy coming off that debate. And for Harris, that's the most positive thing that's happened to her campaign so far.
Wow. All very, very interesting indeed. Steve Kornacki will be watching all afternoon as more numbers come in. And coming up, the next generation, 15-year-old Coco Gauff's amazing Wimbledon debut. Next, right here on Andrea Mitchell Reports, only on MSNBC.
As your life grows, so do your needs. And with Bank of America and Merrill, the benefits you get can grow too. As a preferred rewards member, you can enjoy priority service and exclusive discounts, so your growing life can be more rewarding too. What would you like the power to do?
Paul, you're the greatest neighbor. You help us find the best home improvement pros, get quotes, and research prices for our home projects.
That's not me. That's Home Advisor.
You can't expect your neighbors to do it all, so just ask Home Advisor.
July 4th lands on a Thursday.
I got it.
So bookers are booking a 1, 2, 3. That's a 4-day weekend. Awesome. And with getaway deals on accommodations starting from 15% off, you can be a booker at Booking.com.
Attention oxygen therapy users. If you've been chained to an oxygen tank, then you know they're a burden. Tanks keep you from living the life you love.
I was on oxygen tanks, and I couldn't go anywhere and do much of anything. I didn't dare go far.
It's time to reclaim your independence with an Inogen One oxygen concentrator. Inogen makes its own oxygen from the air around you, so you'll never worry about running out of oxygen again.
I wasn't going to run out of oxygen ever, and it was like freedom. I got my life back. I really love my Inogen.
The Inogen One G4 is lightweight and compact. Plus, it's battery operated, so you can have oxygen anytime, anywhere.
Oh, do I think Inogen is worth the money? You better believe it's worth every single penny of it.
Call now for your free information kit. There's no obligation. Inogen. Oxygen anytime, anywhere.
Call 1-800-710-0684. That's 1-800-710-0684. Call now for your free information kit.
Turn lights. We're on the move.
Eric, all good? Oh yeah, we're good.
We're good. Defenders of home.
If you see traces of blood when you brush or floss, you don't have to choose between healthy gums and strong teeth. Complete Protection from Parodontax has 8 design benefits for healthy gums and strong teeth. Complete Protection for...
The Lexus Summer Sales Event at Lexus of Englewood. Why wait when great values on hundreds of Lexus of Englewood's hottest models are here now, including value-priced L-certified Lexus vehicles with attractive lease and finance offers. Lease the new Lexus UX crossover, just $329 a month. Get a new Lexus NX 300 all-wheel drive, $379 a month, or a new Lexus ES sedan, also just $379 a month. The Lexus Summer Sales Event now at Lexus of Englewood. Call 1-800-NEW-LEXUS or go to lexusofenglewood.com.
When the power goes out, your life is disrupted. Heat, air conditioning, refrigeration, phones, all gone. Want to take back control? A Generac home standby generator protects your home against power outages every second of every day, all year long, automatically, whether you're home or away. Control your power, control your life with a Generac home standby generator. For a free
free in-home survey called Bloomfield Cooling, Heating and Electric. Never be without power again.
One of the greatest players in women's tennis history, now at center court in Wimbledon this hour, Serena Williams, playing Julia Monteconi on day 2 at Wimbledon. They're facing off in the shadow of a stunning upset of sister Venus in her first round match on opening day. The oldest player in the field at 39, Venus was defeated by the youngest, 15-year-old Corey Coco Gauff in an emotional triumph over her childhood hero. Just last week, Coco was in school taking a high school science test. But as NBC's Morgan Radford reports, life can change suddenly on the fabled grass courts.
Game, set, stunning. Corey Gauff, whose nickname is Coco, serving up a victory in her first Grand Slam match. Beating 5-time Wimbledon champion Venus Williams at her own game.
So far, Coco's done everything better than Venus.
The 15-year-old phenom showing no sign of nerves as she faced her idol. Winning over the center court crowd with every single shot. After the match, Coco shaking hands with the woman who inspired her to pick up a tennis racket.
She just told me that congratulations and to keep going and good luck. After a match, I told her that just thank you for everything she did. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
The teen tearing up on the sideline.
Honestly, I don't really know how to feel. This was definitely the first time I ever cried after a match, or winning, obviously.
Her proud parents celebrating in the stands.
It's a lot that she sacrificed, and I'm just so happy that she's living out her dream.
39-year-old Venus admitting she was outplayed.
She did everything well today. She put the ball in the court, which was much better than I did.
Before Coco even stepped out onto the court Monday, there have been comparisons to Venus. One even coming from the tennis vet's sister, Serena.
She's playing against a player that actually reminds me of Venus. The way she just kind of her body and everything.
The Williams sisters also finding a love of the game at a young age. Ooh. A 10-year-old Venus telling Today her family played a key role in her early success.
It helps me to go out there to do my best and to accomplish my goals.
Venus turning pro at 14, earning her first Grand Slam singles title at Wimbledon at the age of 20. An iconic player who helped redefine the sport, now inspiring its future.
I'm literally living my dream right now, and not many people get to say that.
Morgan Radford reporting on that changing of the guard at Wimbledon. And that does it for us. For Andrea Mitchell Report, here is Ali Velshi from Velshi and Rule. Ali?
Andrea, thank you. Have yourself an excellent afternoon. Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday, July the 2nd. Coming up this hour on Velshi and Rule, shocking revelations as lawmakers get a new look inside immigration detention centers. Reports of migrants drinking out of toilets and other terrible details. We'll speak to one of our own reporters who's seen facilities like these firsthand, as well as Congresswoman Judy Chu, who toured those centers. Plus, the secret Facebook page where Border Patrol agents reportedly spouted off racist and sexist comments. Now the government is investigating, and as the humanitarian crisis at the border grows, I'll speak live with Ken Cuccinelli, Acting Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. We also have all the new details on President Trump's plan for July 4th, how he's militarizing and politicizing America's holiday. Inhumane and indefensible, those words being used today by members of the United States Congress to describe the humanitarian crisis on the southern border. Democratic lawmakers, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, toured 2 migrant detention facilities in Texas on Monday and saw what they call horrifying living conditions there firsthand. Ocasio-Cortez tweeted this, in part, quote, "Officers were keeping women in cells with no water and had told them to drink out of the toilets." Joining me now, NBC's Cal Perry. He's one of the only journalists who's seen the entire detention facility in McAllen, Texas. He's also visited the Clint detention facility, which we've been speaking of, and the tent city in Tornillo. So let's start, Cal, with the McAllen detention facility. What did you see when you were there a few months ago that jives with what you're hearing now?
What I saw was much worse than the video we've seen in the Clint facility. To be clear, I've not been inside the Clint facility. I went inside the one in McAllen. I went inside the one in Tornillo. What I saw was shocking. There were large cages that... When we went in there, were totally overcrowded, busting at the seams. People were.
For a while. Share buybacks also fell for the first time in 7 quarters, with companies spending $205 billion. That's down from the record $223 billion in the fourth quarter. Let's go down some more on these markets and the fallout from all of this with Seema Modi down at the New York Stock Exchange. Seema, we've got earnings coming up.
We certainly do, and Kelly, earnings estimates have come down dramatically. Perhaps most concerning is that it's being led by tech. The latest estimates are calling for earnings from technology companies to fall nearly 8% in the second quarter year over year. Now that raises questions about whether the tech sector can continue to provide leadership in the second half of the year if earnings do in fact disappoint. Now the tech rally has been highly concentrated, fueled by Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, all up more than 30% this year. Remember, Microsoft alone contributed to 15% of the S&P's gains last quarter. It's worth noting that growth-oriented stocks as a whole continue to outperform value-driven stocks, but that could certainly change if the outlook for tech earnings deteriorates due to factors like tariffs, a stronger dollar, and a China slowdown. Kelly, back to you.
All right, Seema, thank you. Seema Modi. Stocks soared in the first half of this year with the Dow, the Nasdaq, the S&P all posting double-digit gains. Can that be sustained, especially if buybacks have dropped a little bit and the threat of a wider trade war with Europe? Let's bring in Kevin Munn, he's Chief Investment Officer at Henyon & Walsh, and Jason Brady, CEO of Thornburg Investment Management. Welcome to you both. Kevin, look, markets famously climb the wall of worry. In fact, the longer the list, the better they typically can do, but we are coming off a strong first half.
Yeah, it's very strong first half, the strongest first half in over 20 years, following the strongest January in over 30 years. So the question then becomes the longest economic expansion on record. The secular bull market rally now that's lasted 10 years. Where do we go from here? So I think we have to be a lot more selective.
But people have been saying this for years. Yep. I mean, how long have we been saying this exact same thing about this recovery? And even the stats about the first half of the year ignore the fact that we were at lows on Christmas Eve. We just happened to turn the calendar basically at the very bottom. I mean, the broader context is not that the market is as good in the first half of this year.
But there's two tailwinds that are still in place and should still be in place at least till 2020. Those being lower corporate tax cuts and more lax regulatory environment. And if that leads to a more confident consumer that continues to spend, you know that 70% of GDP is made up of what? Consumer spending. That should bode well for the economy and stocks if the Fed remains stubborn.
Yeah, you both have some areas in particular that you would have people look. Jason, before we get into any of these picks, we are marking this anniversary of the duration of the expansion, the longest one we've had. Again, for most of it, it's also been one of the weakest and slowest that we've had. So you could also say we're just getting started.
You can say that for sure. I think there's a couple elements to this. One, we really have gone a fairly long way, both time-wise, which is important, but also from a recovery GDP perspective. So this is akin to the recovery that we saw in 2001 to 2007 from a recovery perspective. It's taken a lot longer, but that time horizon, that length, has also allowed some excesses to build. Those excesses really coming from, in my view, the Fed's very easy monetary policy.
What about Europe? I mean, we talk about what our Fed may do, but they're trying over there to ease and support the economy. And German bond yields, again today, I feel like a broken record, but with each passing day, they keep hitting new lows. I mean, the fact that all global bonds end up being linked to those movements is crazy. I mean, why should U.S. corporate borrowing costs be affected by that? But they are.
Well, look, the money moves all over the world, right? There's a bull market somewhere and everything. So you look at the European, the ECB, and what they're trying to do to support their economy, which has been chronically weaker than the United States. You see very, very low rates. And now, with the ongoing kind of manufacturing recession or challenge in Europe, which is being reflected globally and a bit in the U.S., you're seeing them try to explore, well, what do we do from here? If we make rates even lower, is that going to help? Our feeling is it's not going to help. We've really extended credit as much as it's going to be extended here.
Okay, so your picks include the CME Group, China Mobile, JP Morgan, we've spoken about in the past, Royal Dutch Shell, and you would stay with all of those regardless of what the Fed does here?
Well, look, those are cash flow generative companies or companies that, from a portfolio position, in the case of CME, work in volatile times. In other words, they benefit from volatility. You talked about share buybacks. JP Morgan announced on Thursday they're going to be buying back over the next year about 8% of their shares. That's because they have really good capital. Don't fight the last war from 2008.
Okay.
Do a very, very different situation here.
And Kevin, which I also love your emphasis on the deal making, which has also been a record this year. Say look to e-commerce, biotech, and smaller cap technologies. We have some breaking news you got to get to, guys. We'll leave it there, but thank you so much. Kevin Bond, Jason Brady joining me. It's breaking news on Christine Lagarde. In fact, Chu, what's going on?
All right, so Kelly, a formality at this point, but Christine Lagarde has formally been nominated to take over the presidency of the European Central Bank. So if you take a look at the ECB overall, all of the leaders have now agreed that her nomination should move forward. With this particular move, it now goes to the full EU Parliament for a voting on this particular situation. They need a full majority in order to approve her and the slate of nominees for the executive positions at that group, but still a big development here now formalized. Christine Lagarde, current head of the IMF, now being proposed to head over the European Central Bank. Back over.
That's pretty surprising. A politician, effectively, not an economist.